I mean, all these stories lead to from one to another. Yeah, and then we, it was, I don't know. And then basically, to skip the record here, then I was teaching drum corps and I taught the Skywriters.
Yeah, this was like in the what 93, 92, 93.
Yeah, Brian West, who's the director, TCU,
TCU.
is
Yeah.
he was one of the instructors there, and he went to North Texas and he knew me, and he wanted me to come in. There was another Greg Reinhardt was there, and he kind of called me up and wanted me to write some music in '92, and then kind of sustained that relationship in '93. Um, and then, just it was a fantastic experience. It was really great. I mean, basically everybody in the group was super young, and you could teach them from scratch. So
Yeah.
there was some really just outstanding performances, just like in terms of just uniformity and clarity and just clean. I remember we would play like taps, drags, taps, fives, and they would get like applause because it was so clean. It was so well done, and all the kids were, you look at them and think they were all 17 years old, and it was so much fun just learning how to teach. That's the one thing about drum corps that I think I don't know, might be missing today. It's like my experience doing that, like being in the trenches. Like we came in like 17th place or something. And it wasn't about that at all. It was like really just rolling up your sleeves and teaching people how to play and that experience. And a lot of those players went on to do really great things as well. And so that was kind of a validation of the value of that whole experience. And I kind of cut my teeth and learned how to really teach under adversity in that situation. So long story short, 94 comes around, or I'm sorry, what? 1994 comes around, and here we are in February, and the core folds.
Yeah. I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, they financially couldn't fold, and so I was tight with Tom, and I just called. I said, "Hey man, I got like what we talked all the time, so I just kind of I just laid it out there and said, man, we're folding. I got this whole line, like it was a big line, and I had all of these players, and I didn't know what to do, and I just called him and said, hey, do you need some players? And Float was like, yo man, just bring them all over, and so basically we just like combined both of those groups, like fully combined, and that was the year we had 7 quads, and we had 10 snares, and like a million people in the pit, and it was just so fun, but I thought that was a testament to how what kind of person Tom was. He was like, yes, sure, the more the merrier. It would be really super funny. And he'd say, the best thing about VK is you can do pretty much whatever you want. you want you want to have 7 quads, there you go. There's
Who would have known at the time that 94 line was going to be your favorite drum line of all time that you've worked with? Yeah.
you said it, Rob.
Yeah, yeah. So I had to work that in somewhere,
Yes,
And,
94.
and
Yes,
for everybody listening, I say that because I was part of that drum line.
right.
But we were good, and I'll say
Yes.
this, and we were talking about this the other day. During that time when you got there and you'd be rehearsing us, I would think, man, we're going to be like the worst drumline ever in the history of DCI. But you would always be there hyping us up, like, no, you guys are going to be great. We're going to work hard. It's going to pay off. And then next thing you know, we go to these shows like at the beginning. We just start beating these drum lines, winning drums against these lines that we've never beaten in the past since I was in VK, and it was a good feeling. I want to say, with the exception of maybe one or two drum lines, we beat everybody else that year at least once. And then on semifinals, the core got like 14th or 15th, but the drum line got second in filled percussion. So that I always hype that up whenever I can, because that to me that's a big accomplishment, especially going on so early when they're serving breakfast. They're serving breakfast in the restaurants, and then here we go getting second in field percussion.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to explain to people, isn't it? Like it takes a while to talk about those years because it's just so many stories lead to another story and another, and it's funny because you're right. Yeah, we just had like I had experience teaching corps that were struggling to make finals, and so it wasn't new to me at all. I was like, no, no, okay, like we just need to stay the course. Just trust me on that, and we play. And those, what was that park we used to rehearse? I used to drive down the five freeway. I was living at Tom's house, and we just drive around the five freeway, and we'd meet at this park, this general park, and we would
No,
just
one of the guys in the line said it was in Anaheim. I remember it being in Orange, but I'm probably wrong. It was probably Anaheim, like down the street from the Core Hall. You know,
more or less, yeah. And so it's just like a slow and steady. I think it's easy sometimes. People like students. Um, I don't know. Maybe you would agree with this, but students like they get to a certain level, and they're kind of they want to keep up the facade of they know everything, you can't teach them anything kind of thing. And I remember just really trying to just break that down and get through that, just to be real, because it was all just us. We were all just closed rehearsals, and we were just like methodically going through the process. And I remember we went to that first parking lot, and pretty smoking clean. Like, I think a lot of people were really shocked. They were like, "Wow," and yeah, and you'd start getting everyone around us would start noticing, and all the other competition was like, "Uh-oh," you know, and yeah, it was just like patient, steady, you know.
especially had the seven quads, which I don't think you'd ever see that out there. Or I know there's sometimes there's six, but to see seven out there, like, and they were clean and smoking beats.
Yeah, yeah, it was above all, I think it was just a lot of really unique, memorable personalities in the group that just made it so fun, right? Wasn't it? It's just
Yeah,
like no matter
yeah,
how many bad things happened to us, it was just funny, and people knew how to like crack a joke, and people
yeah.
just knew how to lighten it up a little bit, and that I think made the whole situation, especially when if anything would go wrong, like the bus breakdowns and the food and all that kind of stuff. Nowadays, I don't think people are like that at all. I'm not trying to be that old guy saying,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think that's just it. That was part of drum corps back in the past, like the suffering, right? The suffering and the punishment.
That was definitely a thing. Like people don't understand. The buses would catch fire on the way to the show, and we'd pull off on the side of the road. The one bus is on fire. Everybody jumps off and jumps on another bus, and you go to the show and you get off and you go do the show.
Right.
I don't think that happens nowadays.
No, I think it's yeah, I think back on those days and how it probably couldn't happen today, because there's so many, everything is with the internet, everything is transparent to everyone.
And that's for the this is for the better though. I mean, it's not like you don't want kids out there push starting buses anymore.
No, no, I get you. But I remember thinking it was kind of cool when I marched, is the mystery behind the other groups. Like the first time you'd see them, whether it be the Spirit of Atlanta or SCV, or you would have no idea what they would be like before you went and saw them. So in your mind, you're thinking you've got this whole image of what you think they're like, and it was exciting. It was so exciting and a motivator to see somebody for the first time, like to see a corps for the first time. And nowadays, don't you think it's like you see everyone, like you see they're like the dirt at the camp. You see under the hood with everybody, so it's no surprise. So it's like,
And
you
like
know,
back in the day too, like I've talked about this before with some other people, you know, there was definitely vibing going on between drum lines. There was like a friendly dislike amongst other lines. I mean, you're friends, but you're still like, you want to beat those guys because they're whatever core that they're with. Nowadays,
yeah,
everyone's friends, and
I know. Don't you? I think yeah, it's a little bit too, um, like like I don't know how to put this. It's like a little too friendly. You know what I mean? It's a little too positive. Everything is just like you can't be too competitive, or else it's sort of looked down upon. And
yeah, yeah.
I don't. That's why I think that all the way that I do things, I just sort of retreated back to us. I do a lot of. I think the internet is sort of a dangerous place when it comes to things like that. You can remain anonymous and really just rip people to shreds.
Oh yeah, totally.
And my guys don't do that at all. And it's a sort of a policy. I say many things to the players, and one of them is that you can't try to make yourself seem better by making someone else seem worse. You know what I mean? How many drum corps conversations have you had where it starts off all good, but then it immediately goes to, how bad these guys were and how bad those guys were and how we tend to not do that at all. We just focus on us. We have control over what we can do. We understand that our competition is between us and the last time that we played, right? The competition among ourselves. I sincerely try to get better every year, and I honestly think we have been getting better every single year. We're getting better at um, Sandy and I are getting better at writing. We're getting better at teaching. The students are getting better. I think the whole thing is still progressing, and I think that's where the focus is. Instead of in the back in the day, it was all about just beating people, and I think it was a little easier to think that way because of the system, the tick system. You know what I mean? You could count mistakes and you add them up, and that was the way it was. But now it's a lot more subjective. It's a little more vague.
You'd have the guy in the lot, line would be playing, then all of a sudden you'd hear some guy yell out "dirt," like when something was not the cleanest. Yeah. Luckily, you don't have guys like that anymore. The hecklers that sit out there and just want to. Now they just heckle you online over YouTube videos, but
Right. I know without even seeing you live. Like you're at the mercy of some kid taking a video from an angle. You know, it's funny because now that when I see somebody like taking videos like on the end of the quad line looking in, I'll immediately like introduce myself, walk up to him, and just please I'll pull him to the center and I'll say, "Can you take this shot so it doesn't all sound from the side?"
you get these trolls on the internet, and you get like a guy like left hand tradition 2931 telling trying to tell you how how dirty your line is when it's not like the best listening position, correct?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Videos, you're at the mercy of the quality of the camera and the quality of the person filming and where it's located and the reverb of the place that we've set up in places that are kind of like 10 feet from a building, right? And it's just like everything kicks back and it all sounds nasty and even though you step away and it's like crystal clear. And I think that I don't know the other thing that's a little bit strange about the way it is nowadays is people feel um, like it's their right to come and video and monetize your music, which I think is strange. I don't think that's the way it should be. I think that if somebody wants to record my group, I know it's once again, it's probably just dating myself, but what don't you think like somebody should walk up and say, "Hey, do you mind us recording this?" And like talking to you and saying, "Hey, my name is so and so, and do you mind if I set up?" Without question, I'm saying, "Yeah, of course. Why don't you set up right in the middle? You'll be you get the thing straightened out." But it's not that way at all. And all of a sudden, you'll see like people showing up with their tripods and like heavy duty equipment, and they won't say a word to you, and they'll just they'll take recordings of all the stuff you're doing in the parking lot, and then they'll go and edit it and take it and monetize it.
Oh man, now I feel like I'm being attacked here. You're not talking about me, are you?
No, no, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about like just generally speaking.
And for the record, hold on. For the record, when I record somebody, I do my best to at least try to talk to the instructor first to make sure it's okay. Because I know sometimes it's not like, especially if I'm going to get close. I always ask like permission. Hey, is it cool if I'm here? And everyone's typically cool. It has been cool with me. I shouldn't say typically. Everyone's been cool with me. But you talk about editing and stuff. I'm sitting here sweating a little bit. I'm like, man, I hope he's not talking about me.
No, no, no. Every time that you have ever seen me in the parking lot, you have always been totally um you approach me, we talk, we chat it up. I've known you for years and years. It's like it's not a strange thing at all. I'm talking about the people that I don't know at all.
At least a conversation needs to be had. And like, what are you comfortable with? Is it cool if I do this? No, I get that. Like
Yeah, when you
I
come
try
up
to
and
do that.
say, "Hey man, do you mind if I set up?" I'm like, "Sure, you go for it." It was just like a courtesy thing of somebody just saying. But when it comes to like somebody in the heat of the moment recording like semifinals or finals, I mean, I'm in like competitive mode there.
You're a competitive guy. You get to these lots like semis and quarters and in finals and you're in in the zone, are you like, is it hard not to get like come across as being gruff, a little gruff when you're talking with people not affiliated with your line at all? I know you
Yeah,
probably don't
of
talk too
course.
much, but I mean,
No, I try to find, I try to find a place that's off the beaten path. I don't like the whole like out of control crowd thing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember,
That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Why a lot of times you guys go off and it's kind of hard to find. Yeah,
we just need a little peace and quiet, and we need to get ready to go on to play the show. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, generally speaking, a performer will like have a green room or have like a zone that they go, and nobody will bother them until they go on to the show, and then after the show, it's all good. And I think I tend to think about it that way a little bit more in terms of just um, if I'm tuning drums right before the show, which takes a lot of time, and I do it every single show. Um, it's and people feel like it's okay just to come up and chat and everything like that. It sometimes gets a little out of control because I got stuff to do. You know what I mean? I'm doing something, and I it's part of the process of what we're doing. And so yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a nice guy, but if I come off edgy, it's probably directly related to the fact that we're about to go on in 15 minutes. You know?
that competitive nature, and yeah, I get it. It's like, okay, how many times have you won high percussion?
Eight in
Eight.
DCI eight. Yeah.
And the way I kind of see it, it's like it's got to be like, okay, you're going along, and then you win that first one, and it's like I take it. Have you ever been to Las Vegas? Have you ever played the slots?
Yeah, yeah. Not very often, but
I'm an
occasionally.
analogy guy. Like I've been in Vegas and I've played slots and I've won like a pretty good sized jackpot. But then after you win that first big jackpot, now like the little ones don't matter. You're always chasing that big one. Is it like that with you for after you won that first drum title?
I try not be. And one thing I always try to remind myself of is I need to enjoy the daily grind. I need to enjoy being out there. I need to enjoy the rehearsal day or the blocks in the morning. I need to enjoy that. That needs to be fun. That's a part of the way I think, so that I think it actually makes it more enjoyable for the players too. Like I am the moment I it's face it, the end result, or winning or not winning, is the end of a process. And so you got to enjoy the process. And
Yeah,
if you don't enjoy the process, then when you don't win, it's just like worthless. It's
yeah,
meaningless. And
yeah.
everything else becomes a real negative experience. And that's not true for me. I mean, I think that I think we play at the highest level every year, and I think that that's the result of a process that we follow, and that I'm very, um, committed to doing, and I enjoy it. Then the moment that I don't enjoy it, then I'll stop. I still do like 52 to 54 days at least of tour every year. I mean, imagine that.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I could totally believe it. You're always there in the grind,
Yeah.
in the thick of it.
Yeah, I just like it. I like the whole thing. I like it's enjoyable, and I think it's fun for me to do it. I like the players. I like the music. I like to hear the music that I write, and I like to get them to play at the highest level. I like to talk about, you know, um, performance anxiety, and a lot of non-musical things. We have meetings all the time, and I talk to them about a huge wide spectrum of topics that we talk about, and I think the players find that interesting and fascinating. And I just, like I said, I think I focused on enjoying the grunt work, enjoying the grind, so that if something good happens, if you end up winning, well, then yeah, that's gravy. It's all, everyone likes to do well, but everyone likes to play well, and everyone likes to be recognized for doing that. And I think I'm not discounting that, but I'm saying usually the truest barometer of that is the way that the player feels about 5 minutes after they play. That's when the truth hits home. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, we've all been part of situations where you played fantastic and it didn't go your way, or you played and it didn't go that well, and all of a sudden your score goes up. I think the truth is really with the players. The players know what reality is, and we are. I make sure that I make sure that they all feel grounded. I think it's all good that so and so gave you the bump tonight, but let's face it, letter A to B wasn't where it should be, and you know what I mean. And then we just make our list and have our things to do, and the opposite is true. Like we'll get off the field and we'll think, man, that was the best show of the summer. You guys hit a home run, and then all of a sudden you're down.
Yeah, and
It's
then you're just scratching your head.
yeah, and so you can only take that as part of the experience. You can't That can't be the end all, because I've seen a lot of really great instructors get eaten up by that. It just tears them up if they don't win all the time. And I think that, like I said, I think it's winning or not winning should be the result of that process, and you have to enjoy the whole way through. And then all of a sudden, if it does happen for you, then it's a result of some hard work and everyone being on the same page.